we are in this new normal, and to be able to deal with this new normal, we need to have a particular mindset, and that mindset you would call a digital mindset. Would that be
Yes,
correct?
absolutely.
Okay.
I would not have been able to put it better.
Okay. Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to yet another episode of Business Networking with Vipul Bondal. And we have a very, very familiar guest here today with us. Today, in a different role, rather than putting people on the hot seat, he's sitting on the hot seat himself today. So it gives me great pleasure to invite Charudatta Pande, the world's first digital mindset coach, as our guest today. Welcome, Charu.
Thank you so much, Vipul, for this opportunity.
So, incidentally, Charu is the person who introduced me to the world of Thinkly, and I'm extremely grateful to him for that. And I said one of the things that I will do is I'll give him a return gift. So, in the form of a return gift, I'm taking some time from his busy schedule and engaging him in a conversation. Uh, you know, Charu, as we speak, is in Murbad today. He is helping to digitally transform a company, especially the manufacturing operations. So that's very interesting, very suited to what we are discussing today. So just a little introduction to Charu, though he doesn't need it, very frankly, but I'll still do that. So Charu is the managing partner of Surut Consultants. He is the ex-CEO of Gropal Solutions Private Limited. He has worked with IBM, SAP, and Dassault Systems in the past. He has delivered over 25 business projects, and he's also an author. He has written 3 books, one of which I have had a chance to read. I haven't read the other 2, which I will do very soon. And his mission in life is very, very interesting. He says his mission is to help 1 million entrepreneurs and professionals accelerate their growth by developing a digital mindset. And that's exactly what our topic is today. Our topic for today is taking your business digital is all in the mind. So welcome, Charu.
Thank you, Vipul.
So let's begin by understanding this word digital a little better. When you can you simplify what you mean by taking your business digital for me, and what exactly do we mean by digital transformation? We read about this a lot. Increasingly, in the last couple of years, we've seen the word digital transformation is being used very regularly in business publications and business media, and also in conversations that we see on television and elsewhere. But we've not really understood what it is. So who better than you to simplify it for us?
Thank you so much for such a generous introduction, Vipul. So I'll start by putting things very, very simply. Digital transformation for a very long period of time was a word which was primarily coined by a lot of IT companies in talking about how technology can drive business in a different way. And because it was a technology company driven narrative, to be very honest, that point in time, the whole digital transformation appeared to be something very, very futuristic, and a lot of effort everybody would need to put in for that whole transformation to happen. So, unfortunately, that whole complication or the complexity or the package that came in as a part of the digital transformation from an IT company perspective made digital transformation a very big thing compared to what it actually really means. I think digital mindset is basically the key to transformation. Let me give you some very small examples.
Sure.
Right, the best joke around this particular part is that the biggest driver for transformation was actually COVID and not the CTOs, because that came out of necessity. And at that point in time, people were not traveling, and a lot of companies started realizing that we can actually operate from home and we can use technology to run our operation. For me, making your business digital is all about using the technology which is suited best for your business and for your business interests to give you the expected ROI. Because in business, we are primarily here to make money. We are not here to use somebody's solution and drive transformations. We are here to transform ourselves and subsequently go and transform the way our client is engaging, is able to do their business, or the way our consumers' life is, we are able to impact in a positive way. So that's our mission. We are not here in the business of using technology to get somebody's proof of concept done in our organization, right? So that should not be the mindset. The idea should be, let me identify where any particular technology can create any value, and let me use that particular technology to run my business better. Now you look at easiest of the thing or the easy adoption per se. look at people, all your vegetable vendors, sabzi wala, chai wala, all tapri guys, pani puri walas, right? Everybody moved very effectively to digital payment in no time.
That's right.
So so that is the transformation that we can talk about. The entire generation which was not into the banking part, and see how the things get multiplied. The moment, say, one particular auto rickshaw fellow starts earning the money in his account, he can see that this is the money that I'm earning. That particular earning track makes him eligible for getting loans from bank. So a same person who would have otherwise had to take it from an NBFC at say about 14% or 15% can now easily get that loan at about 8 or 9%. Now from that 9% makes such a huge saving for him that he can grow very fast. He would have some money to have a better life for his kids and his family. So it is the change, having the smallest of the change, that incremental change in your business, in your life, by bringing that particular technology to make that a very significant, larger impact is for me the digital transformation.
Okay, understood. Now, I wanted to also then ask you about this other new word which I've heard only from you actually, but increasingly I'm sure it's going to pick up. Is this word called digital mindset? So, can you elaborate on what is digital mindset?
Okay. So digital mindset is primarily the word came in out of the experience of dealing in last 4 years particularly. So I'll take a minute to just walk you through this part. So this is more like a Steve Jobs journey. So I'm going to give that particular analogy to build it up, right? So I started my career in purely in manufacturing industry for 10 years before moving into tech for about another 9 years, then costing and then consulting. Right. So I have the flavor of all the three industries and I have seen these industries operating physically on paper. I have seen how they go about their financial reporting, how they go about their looking at their technology. And I have seen all of them going through a very tough patch during the COVID part. I have personally conducted sessions for more than 2,000 companies and I have seen the kind of struggle everybody was going through. Right. So that was the period when everybody needed it. And in this particular space, we saw that people who were very close to, at some point in time, to be honest, maybe breaking because of the pressure that they were looking at it. And the stigma or the issue was that this is how I have operated for years. Can I operate it in a different way? Right? So, for example, I was working with one particular company at that point in time. The promoter was about 74-year-old. His son was 48, 46 at that point in time. And this 74-year-old individual was not even letting his 46-year-old son run the setup completely, right? So he was that involved in his business. He knew specific data, although the son was exposed to this particular part, but still few things he would do and work. So if you don't have the second generation, and if you look at the first generation entrepreneur operating at say late 40s or 50s, late 50s particular period, a lot of them have been used to the idea of maintaining some specific data with themselves and controlling the data. So lack of transparency across the organization was a way of running the business.
Right.
The moment you bring in a technology and everything is available in the in any kind of a system, the chances of somebody getting exposed to that particular information are high. And a lot of them had this issue that what if somebody knows? If somebody is already working in your organization for a fairly good amount of time, they would probably know, right? The numbers, the profitability, they will know that anyway. So there was really no point, but that mindset was a huge block of whether I can go. The second part that also got built up along with the part was that the bad experiences of their friends or peers who have implemented the technology but haven't got it. That was second part. Third thing was they had a lot of bad experiences or at least the stories that they have learned about regarding the payment frauds. Saying that this was a cyber attack or this was a payment fraud. So there was a fear factor. So all these three things put together were actually preventing many of the entrepreneurs use technology, although they knew for sure that the way forward for them is the tech. They knew. The other side, which parents started building it, the human aspect of this was the promoter was operating at a different level. He had some mid-level managers who were not adverse to technology, but they were fine with that particular tech. And the younger generation, which started coming in after 2 years or 2.5 years of complete online education, wanted everything online. So that created a very different conflict wherein the moment they saw people working manually, they would just go and leave. So manpower attrition also became a huge issue for conventional industries. And then I realized the only way for this to change is for that entrepreneur to realize that we are not going back to the previous normal that he was used to. And he needs to get used to that particular new normal and protect himself in the right way, but also give sufficient technology and sufficient autonomy for people to work. And that's the background for planning this particular work of digital mindset, because that changing that mindset, if you change it, everything else happens pretty smoothly.
Okay. So what you're saying is, I mean, and correct me if I'm wrong here, if I analyze it a little bit, what you're saying is, over the last few years, due to the new technologies which have come, and also primarily due to COVID, a lot of the traditional ways of doing business has transformed.
Yes.
Uh, Also, what has happened is, with adoption of technology such as UPI and others, the way we've traditionally done business has also changed. Expectations of customers have changed, and there is this all of these taken together is a new normal, as you called it. And
Yes.
we are in this new normal, and to be able to deal with this new normal, we need to have a particular mindset, and that mindset you would call a digital mindset. Would that be
Yes.
correct?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I would not have been able to put it better.
Okay, thank you so much. So, when what do you specifically mean when you say that taking your company digital or taking your business digital is all about mindset? When we started talking about our talk for today, we arrived at this topic, and that is what you said, that this could be one topic that we can talk about. So, I mean, how is this? How do we see this differently?
Okay. Let's look at three fundamental patterns of what we are currently looking at. So, how we are basically currently getting the food today. So, food is basically you have the complete Zomato, Swiggy's of the world operating, right? You have
Right.
all these Zeptos and Amazons of the world giving you the grocery items. Dmart
That's
is
right.
also, even the conventional chains like Dmart also
Right.
has got this particular part working. So, this is at a one particular level. Now,
Right.
look at what's happening in the same segment. When there was a lockdown, your Kirana shop, if you are used to all the local delivery guy whoever had, started giving you everything that you needed based on a WhatsApp, right? So the technology started bringing, changing that particular habit. So somebody did at a very great level, somebody started doing at a very small level, but your basic needs started getting fulfilled. So food is one particular part. Now we look at particular the clothes. The younger generation is so much on the Mintras of the world and trying it out. So
Correct.
see how it happens. At least for me, a feel is a very important thing when I want to buy something, right? I would like
Right.
to go and feel that particular material for me to go and buy. For
Right.
them, it's like that, okay, you go and buy, you feel that is right, fine. If you don't like this particular part, return.
Correct.
So that is changing, but the variety that I'm able to see on the platform is way more compared to what I'm able to see. So it's a question of choice.
That.
Because a particular mall would have something, the younger generation used to it, and probably they are the ones who would buy more compared to the seniors who anyway would have a limited buying option. So that particular thing has completely changed. So and also if you look at from a place of stay where you're operating, platforms like No Broker or even the Magic Bricks and multiple platforms are which could have also changed how they are looking at it. Now
Right.
the new applications like co-living or co-sharing or even when you are traveling, places of stay across variety of platforms that you have available today, including pagodas of the world. So you have a very different economy which is got created on managing your basic needs, right?
Right.
So this particular part, your life has now completely transformed in by using have this particular thing that has happened. And a lot of these changes we have adopted without even basically realizing that we are actually getting into some change. It has naturally happened.
Yeah.
Now, that is, but when it comes to getting the same thing into the business, we have an issue. वहाँ पे all of a sudden people get into a mindset of सेनेट के मेरी इंफॉर्मेशन क्या क्या होगा आप अपनी ईमेल डाल रहे हैं आप अपना पूरा वर्किंग डाल रहे हैं आपका पेमेंट साइकिल जा रहा है यूपीआई आईडी जा रहा है everything is available to you on when you are making a payment online or when you are engaging on a platform but when you look at the data why there is a kind of a secrecy why do we want to basically operate in a way wherein people have got only silos of information to operate and that's a part. Second thing we put on the larger industrial side, if you see what was happening in that globally in S&P 500 index, if you see, the company would typically enter into a global 500 would last there for about 36 years. That was the average that we talk. So if you are into that particular zone, you were there for about 3. So you had a sufficiently longer run at that level, right? Currently, what's happening is that span has come down to about 12 years. And in the era of startups, when we are talking about fail fast, the younger generation and everybody who's coming in is coming up with a very different mindset of time, working out. If it happens, great, nothing. Let me go to this particular part. So your ecosystem is moving in a different way. Your consumer, ultimate consumer is moving in a different way. But if you operate at a different zone, you would see disconnect not only in terms of your ability to capture that particular market and survive in this particular market, but also your ability to attract sufficient talent or the right talent for you to become a company of choice and to keep on offering the right product to your generation. So with this particular part, it's not a choice. Honestly, it is something that you just have to do.
True, Charu. So over the years, as my has progressed, I remember the early days, especially when I started. I'm sure when you started as well. Email was something very new. When we got our first email ID,
Yes,
it was something very very new.
absolutely.
Then, of
Yeah.
course, when the internet happened and we started doing business emailing over the internet, that was another round of change, because then we could suddenly access our office emails from anywhere. Not you don't have to necessarily go to your office PC. Then, of course, somewhere along the way, your previous organization SAP came along and made life miserable for others. You know, in a way by putting everything that we did in paper on the system.
Yes.
So somewhere along the way that happened. I think until then it was all about checks, issuing checks and receiving our salaries by checks.
Yeah.
Somewhere along the way, money started getting transferred to the bank. So we've actually been seeing digital influence in our lives along the way, just that we didn't put it into a bracket and say this is digital transformation. I think
Yes.
I'm getting more or less what you're saying. But there is one particular point which I wanted to touch upon, and which has been brought out by one of our questions here. This is by Jignesh Mistry. So he says, how do you address concerns about data privacy and cybersecurity while enhancing or while embracing, sorry, digital technologies and platforms? So how do we address that? I mean, and that's a genuine concern, especially in this world.
I completely agree, and I would I would not hesitate from admitting that that is one of the biggest barriers for acceptance of digital as a way of life, in particular in the MSME side. What is happening currently is that we have they believe that the whole set of attacks and everything that we are talking about and things that we are experiencing around can be a huge issue for the company and from the company's data perspective. So there are some ways and means of managing this particular part, not without having a very big infrastructure. So I'll take 1 minute, Vipul, here. I'll give a little longish answer to this part
Sure,
because I
sure,
want him
please.
to get this whole perspective. And I'll
Yeah,
also
sure.
tell you where it
Please.
is coming in from. So what happened is that once we started having the early adoption of our technology, when we had our own structure, the access to you had your own servers, you had your firewalls, your own way of protecting the attacks and everything moving in this particular part, and then you were that whole thing needed some specific skill set and investment for you to protect yourself, and that is
Right.
what led to a continuous idea that we will need to have some kind of a protection system for us to work, and that always kept on increasing the moment you were expanding. So this was the case that if you are into technology, it's not about the application and the work, but there are a lot of more things, that are a lot of other things that you need to do to get this particular thing done right. So this is one way, and that's when these questions of protection and all are very very relevant from the investment perspective. What I think, what I would like to believe in the today's context is that today cloud and SaaS has changed the things in a very different way. Particularly if you look at the tools which are available online or the SaaS platforms, they all obviously have a lot of redundancy inbuilt and they have the protection. They are very sufficiently protected for you to have a very seamless operation irrespective of this kind of things happen. Now, a few things you need to be very clear. If you're an organization, if you're online, and if you're there, it is just a matter of time before you are going to experience an attack. Okay. So I'll be absolutely upfront about it. Okay. So it's going to happen someday or the other. It's just a matter of time. Okay. It is a matter of somebody else doing some particular mistake. So it's just around the corner all the time. You never know where it's going to come from. So what you can do is that you can currently have very smart policies implemented in the organization in terms of looking at what kind of tool that you are going to use, how effective that particular tool is. Are we ensuring using the right kind of tool which will offer me the backup and for this particular part a regular one so that I'm protected in case of any particular kind of attack happening? And the important thing that you need to currently work on is basically managing your endpoint security. So if you are able to start up with the security part wherein all the systems that are accessing your environment currently, if they are rightly protected and you are using the right kind of technology with this particular part, I think the chances of you limiting the damage would be very high. Okay, there would be something that you will experience, but these are the two things that you need to work on. The other thing that is required here is that when you get into this kind of systems, you need to ensure that you are conducting regular trainings for your employees to help them understand what are the do's and don'ts. Okay, so having a proper system using the right kind of ERP platform or the data platform that you are using, and regular training to all the employees. This is the three-way triangle. This is the triangle that you can build to protect yourself to the best possible extent.
Correct. So and you're right. I mean, it's all about having the right kind of mindset. Once you're ready, you know the pros and the cons of going digital. And one of the cons is, of course, this whole paradigm of data privacy and cybersecurity. And we need to be careful as business people to be able to protect ourselves to the extent possible. As you rightly said, it may not be possible all the time, but being ready to the extent possible to fend off these things and be ready for taking rearguard action if in case there is a cyber attack on your business.
Yes.
Thanks very much, Charu, for elaborating on that question. Can I take a couple of questions from the audience here? Yeah. So one question is from Pratik. He asks how businesses can leverage technologies such as AI, IoT, and blockchain to enhance their digital capabilities and competitiveness.
Okay. Three very different technologies, but I'll try and share some of the very practical and relevant examples to into this context. So if you look at AI, primarily on this part, it already exists, it's pretty much there. If you go and look at search for one particular thing at one point in time, and naturally you will start seeing all the relevant things over there in the same particular platform. That is nothing but a way of giving you the next set of insights. For if you go and use Amazon, you search a product, you will see all the relevant product based on the criteria that you are using. You will start seeing the same sort of product across no matter what kind of websites that you visit. So few other things, information getting, targeting, focusing. So AI is already getting used on this particular part. But when you look at the business perspective, I think the most important thing that you can use on this particular part is your ability to have a better response, better communication with the client, better search engine capabilities for you to work, for you to use AI from offering a better experience to the client. Say things like how you can improve your chatbot, how you can ensure that you have better work with your customer. This is on purely the communication part of it, wherein use of AI is very popular. There are a lot of self-learning models that exist on this part. The other part is also from a little, if you put in more effort, is your ability to build your ideal customer persona and keep on assessing your regular data to see if you can build a model around it and for you to take. That is one thing which is there. From a pure revenue perspective is what I'm currently looking at. IoT, I think, is a far more the other part, which is the cost-driven part of it. So you would need obviously need an investment in this particular part, but I sincerely believe that having the right technology is something that you will be able to leverage IoT to get optimized cost. Let me give you a very small example, something called as a golden batch, particularly in the FMCG business. Like say if you're packaging something for a 1 kg pack and you have a margin of plus minus say plus minus 3%. So you can ideally have 970 to 1030. You would not like to give more, but you would also not like to give less because the client gets a feeling of saying that kuch gadbad ho raha hai. So ideally, say somewhere about 1001, 1002, 1005 is a perfect zone wherein you are not on the lower side, but you are not also going on the excess on the other side. So hitting a batch in between and getting that consistent setting for you to get multiple fillings done for 1 kg bags is something called as a golden batch. That's a concept in FMCG. So how do you do that? How do you basically look at getting the right setting? Do you really need only somebody to work, or you can have the technology to start giving you that particular part? How do you monitor the situation continuously, see how various parameters would are contributing to this and ensuring that you are able to go to that golden batch all the time? So these are some very practical examples that you can do. Breakdown management, reducing the frequent breakdowns, getting the right part, observing how your equipment are being used, how they are being, say, any kind of resource that you have, how they are being regularly part. These are amazing things that you can do. Blockchain, currently the one that we see is very popular, which is in diamonds, which is very obvious because that's what the value that they carry, and we see that most of the diamonds are currently available on blockchain. At least the official, lot of them are offering. Blockchain, in case what I see currently, because it requires a huge setup and somebody to build it and work. So it's going back to the old ways of saying that which is the one who's going to propagate. So maybe a comparison to the old mainframe way of saying as to this is my platform on which needs to build. But I see this particular thing getting built up very aggressively. Two areas wherein I see it working really well and probably will be coming pretty soon is in terms of traceability of the documents, particularly all kind of critical documents that we share with each other and you don't want them to be tempered. So that is one thing it will work. The other sector is any high value items, particularly like diamonds is other thing that I see. Third component that I'm also seeing very interestingly is that certain companies in food were very particular about organic, right? So this is also being used, and that's one more expression where they are establishing a complete traceability of the product, which is moving from organic farm still till your table to ensure that there is a complete traceability and it's absolutely organic. Little stretch, but I believe that with more usage and more democratization of this particular technology, you will start seeing the application in these areas as well.
So that to some extent I've understood. I will not claim that I've understood everything, but maybe it'll require a longer conversation. So one question I had, which comes therefore is, who will drive digital transformation in a company? Will it be the owner and or the CEO, or will it be the technology head? Like they say the CTO or people of that kind. Because what you are saying sounds like a lot of work for a business owner. Because will they manage their own business or will they manage this transformation? So who typically owns this process?
I see three roles here.
Okay.
One is somebody who's going to sponsor it. Okay. Honestly, when it comes to the MSME space, particularly, the owner has to sponsor it.
Okay.
Okay. It has to be owner or the CEO or the managing director who has to sponsor this. Okay. Because without their sponsorship, the executioner, which is the CTO, he will not be able to drive. CTO would have the responsibility of primarily executing whatever that we have to work on. They have the CEO or the owner has to sponsor. CTO is going to do that particular part, but the actual success would be led by the people who are the departmental heads. People who are going to actually make things happen. They have the most critical role for the success for this particular kind of transformations to succeed. Because the owner can say that, okay, let's go with this particular part. The CTO can get you best in kind of technology, but getting it actually implemented and working is the responsibility that ultimately the department head should carry. And I see a huge role for HR also in this particular part, because when this change has to happen, managing that particular change is usually the HR space. So somewhere HR head would also become a very critical stakeholder in a successful transformation.
Okay, great. So one more question which Vinita has asked. So the question is, could you share some real life examples or case studies where embracing digital mindset has led to significant transformation or success for businesses?
Okay. So I can share many of them, but I'll give one in respective areas. So I would start with one a specific case of a very large company, a pharmaceutical packaging company, and they were operating. They were at about 350 crores at that point in time, having 8 different plants, and these all plants had grown over a period of time. So all of them had a very different manufacturing technology, and they were operating, serving the clients, and things were going right. Overall, the company was at a profitable level, and we wanted to now double click. So we started doing the digital transformation. We implemented a system, and we came up with the actual product costing for the entire organization. And we implemented this entire organization, the product costing on this the part. We looked at the right cost, and then we started looking at what was our profitability per product per client. Okay. This particular thing led to a situation that this company was exporting to one particular South African country. It contributed to about 12% of their overall revenue. And this particular, for this client, they were one of the best paymasters. So the moment you would basically give them an intimation that the material is ready for dispatch, you would get the payment. And they were very happy with this particular client. When we did the costing and the part, we realized that the company was selling to them with a 2% loss. Because at some point in time, because the orders were low, that point they took that particular order at a very specific price point, and the price point never got revised for 5 years. So same product was sold in India at 1 rupees 10 paise, and the product was sold to this particular company at 95 paise. 95 paise was 96 paise was the cost for that particular one. So this is what was happening at this point in time. So when you look at the whole data, it brings in a lot of insights which will otherwise will have an issue. Right? So this is one particular part where it gives one data. The other thing is a very simple thing like creating your quotations. For one of the company which is growing, but at a very early stage, had a part wherein they would actually go do a back of envelope calculation of the costing, go and go to the customer, tell them something on the WhatsApp. They will go, they will negotiate, arrive at a particular point. Everything is on WhatsApp and the deal is closed. Okay. So there was no way of tracing, looking at as to how I have gone about it. So one senior person who knew how the working had to come would do just some basic calculation and close. When we wanted to take them digital, and we used very simple things, just a simple Google sheet for them to build a cost calculator. And when we arrived at this complete cost calculator, and then all we had to fill was that what are the particular 4 or 5 dimensions of that particular product. It would give you what ideally would be the cost for that particular part, and based on that particular cost, they knew now what is it that they need to quote. So for each of the client, they exactly knew what they were able to quote. Okay. The second, we extrapolated this particular part and looked at how much they had produced in last year, and as per their costing, what would have been their recovery from their production compared to what actual expenses were. And when we compared, we realized that it made no sense for that particular company to produce products below one particular size. So that we then, for all those smaller components, were outsourced to a third party, and the company focused only on the high particular part, leading to not only higher turnover, much better profitability this year. This is second. The third part is also going on a very simple thing like using LinkedIn. Okay? For one particular business, which was into a sourcing part, we were able to help them use only the power of LinkedIn to identify which are the right set of people, reach out to them, make those initial connections and see what all they can build. So using particular part, particularly a lot of them, these particular things don't really cost anything, right? Okay. So if you're using Google Sheets or just upgrading your Tally or using LinkedIn or Instagram, or particularly LinkedIn to reach the right set of people, is probably the easiest way for you to increase it from the sales perspective. Using your any kind of ERP that you have, for you to customize it to getting you the right set of information or data points for making your decision is the another best way for this. We have done it for Oracle, we have done it for multiple platforms of SAP, Progen, strategic ERP, multiple tools. Any particular tool, if you are able to do the right process mapping with your particular part, you can get some amazing results. So just about getting into this particular part, finding out those particular pain points, seeing how you're able to capture the data to address those particular pain points, building those reports and using them judiciously to make those specific informed decisions. That's the key.
Super. So thank you, Charu. So let's come to the real reason why we are meeting today. So, it's all about business networking. So we know that you are also a networker, apart from being a digital mindset coach. So tell me, you've been actively doing business networking for a while now. So how has it helped you in your business?
I will come to the tech part and the networking part. So a lot of times when we feel that we go and reach out to people at a various different forums, go and meet them, and also we feel that we are probably going and networking with them, or we probably aren't going and meeting them. I'm not sure if you're actually going and networking, because networking needs those connections to be built up for them to have that multiplier impact. Right. So the first thing that I realized when I got formally into a networking part was to realize the difference between networking at events and compared to networking in a structured format. Because structured format gives you a far better insight. Secondly, from a technology perspective, purely what happens is technology is so vast. there are so many applications, there are so many areas that it's practically impossible for you to keep track of everything. So unless you are able to work with like-minded people and understand what their success stories have been, where are the areas where they can go and contribute to the client, getting the ultimate output is not possible. So networking also gives you that opportunity of having a wider collaboration for you to get better output from your own ecosystem. That's one. The third thing that it does personally, I think it contributes a lot in terms of understanding different individuals, how do their business, and what are their philosophies. I have seen that that particular understanding of meeting with multiple parts, getting more understanding different businesses, understanding different philosophies behind running those particular business is also a very important factor that helps you in your consulting. At least that has helped me big time in my consulting engagements.
Okay, great. So another question which is related to this, you've been a member of BNI now for more than a year, I think.
Yes.
And so can you just walk us through your journey in BNI?
Okay. So when I joined BNI, so I'd be upfront here. So I joined BNI because my sponsor told me that this is good for you. Okay. And she knew me really well, very old friend of mine. So I went her with her trust saying that, okay, if she feels that it is coming in. So when I joined the chapter, I really had no idea. I knew that the notary platform and BNI was about, but I never realized that I was actually getting into a market. Particularly what I realized is that when you get into BNI, so you are not only able to sharpen your own skills in terms of communication, reaching out to people, variety of trainings that you are able to do, your ability to think on a different part, reaching out, these particular things that come in. And you actually end up meeting a lot of people who believe in givers gain, right? So those things are somewhere you feel that okay, ठीक है, बोलने के लिए बहुत अच्छा है. We have been reading that in the arts cultures for years together, right? So that's not something which is new for us, but it is something which is there a lot of times, particularly coming from a middle class family. These values are very highly ingrained. So from a value system perspective, it doesn't take any effort for you to get into those particular values. You get into those particular parts very automatically. What I was not expecting was a fact that when I get into this particular part, the kind of relationships that I would be able to build and how I would be able to strengthen them and take the things to the next level. So I'll just give you just one example. So first offline meeting was the initiative for all the local people to come in, and about 8 of us met at one particular mall, and we were then discussing, and we kept on chatting. 5 of our team members left, and 3 of us, we stood in that particular mall, literally stood talking for 2 hours. Okay, me, Tejas, and Nilesh. And few months down the line, now we have a common office. So we are 3 of us operating from the same office with our with staff and everybody operating. So that's when it comes. So anything that I have or I want to discuss, all I need to do is that I need to go to the next cabin and then tell him that, okay, this is what I'm thinking. Am I thinking on the right, or do you have a different perspective? So that is what's the
to add to it that the 3 of you are in 3 totally different businesses.
Yes. So completely 3 different businesses, 3 different philosophies in life. Okay. So, all 3 of us, so you understand that we don't really have the same approach towards many things in life, but that's a friendship that has got built up and it has worked. And it has contributed immensely to the way I'm able to engage with multiple clients.
Right.
That has created a huge impact. I've seen a lot of people working in action. I've seen even some youngsters coming in and doing some really good work. So that gives you a very different part. And for chapter like us, wherein we have the founding members still working, it tells us that there is a consistent value that's available for years together, provided you are able to tap in and you start believing in it.
Perfect. So is also networking a mindset in your opinion?
It is.
Just like digital mindset is there a networking mindset?
So I'm going to tell you something, Vipul, okay? So I'll tell you why I was not very keen on networking also, okay? So way back in once I graduated, I got introduced to a lot of this multi-level marketing chains, okay? And they purely the same concept of networking operating on this particular part, the transactions going through. And I had some people who followed up with me like crazy. And then I realized that probably this is something that's not meant for me, okay? So I stayed away from networking as a concept for a fairly long period of time. Okay, I never got into it. And I always had my reservation in terms of this as a concept. But then I realized that BNI is far different on this particular part. It's a very different thing which is working. I'll also share another part of this particular aspect here, Vipul. This particular part is it for people like me who have spent a lot of time on the corporate side.
Right.
We need to somewhere get our pitch, our mindset, and our focus calibrated to owner's mindset.
Correct.
Because many party, when you go and deal with somebody from a position of a strength, to be brutally honest, working with companies like IBM and SAP, you are by default dealing from a position of strength with a client. Because if he has worked on this particular platform, we know that you are practically married. So if you have the basic concepts of leveraging, go in those conversations, right? Plus, there is a huge backup that you have as a form of the phone where you can go and make a lot of statements that you otherwise can't do when you are on your own. Right?
Correct.
So the calibration happens. You realize how people look at their business, what are their business models, how they look at it, what different varieties could have, what could be their ambition for their next generations, what
Right.
are their aspirations for their people, how people look at building their teams, how do they look at building their business. Everything is different, right? So you have practically 100 businesses unfolding in front of yourself, including people from all walks. So these are ready-made things, conversations that you can have. So it's very easy for you to go and connect. Plus, if you are able to create the value and prove that you can actually go and create a value for your clients, then the platform opens up doors like anything, completely unimaginable.
Correct. That's true. Okay. So, this is the last question, Charu, very honestly. And this question has been put by Zaid on the group. Uh, so it got me thinking when you were saying these things that, it's not something that we learn very easily. And, in college, definitely not when we are, in working for organizations like IBM and so on. So, it's a skill which we have learned either on our own or through training programs. So it's a mindset which we've built, and we've been trained to build that mindset. So similarly for digital transformation, are there any training programs that you would recommend so that employees can develop their digital mindset, so that they can thrive in a digital first environment? It's a question, very nice question from Zaid. If you can
It's
please.
a beautiful question. In fact, if you look at the current part, so most of the IIMs have already started introducing course on the digital transformation. All the leading global schools have got programs on digital transformation. A lot of these programs are currently focused on the digital for somebody to drive the digital transformation. So for you to become the digital transformation leader, or for you to make that change manager or change maker, these programs are very helpful and they give you a lot of insights.
Right.
Not many of them currently focus from the end user perspective.
Right.
Okay, so that's a gap that I see. They are all about leading the digital transformation is the focus that's coming in. One thing that I have seen very helpful, and I have followed this and have explored that, so I can tell you with absolute assurance that you can start looking at understanding the digital transformation on multiple platforms like Udemy and all. Okay, they offer you very economical courses for you to understand what the concept is all about, learn what the thing is all about, the basic concept, tools, technology. So somewhere say you can just you need to invest about 500 rupees to 1,000 rupees to get your basic concept, to get the basic concepts. Okay, once you understand that particular concept, and then you realize that okay, this is something that is driving, this is something that is pulling me more towards it. It may be an ERP, it may be infrastructure, it may be the digital marketing part of it, right? So on multiple sides, whichever that you start seeing getting more and more attracted towards, that is something that you should build. A good startup would be looking at what you need to do and how it's you need to look at it. One thing I would also recommend here, Vipul, is I'll try and share this link with you, is Mr. Nandan Nilekan's address towards how India is changing towards technology. So he makes a very important case that India is not following the global model for digital transformation. Okay, we are changing, but we are changing in our own way. So India is going to charter its own way of digital transformation compared to how everybody else is doing. So that is one video that you should actually look for, because he makes very good case in terms of how the global models are built and how they are being currently sold compared to how things will happen in India. So that one particular lecture followed by some basic course on the digital transformation to get those concepts will give you sufficient idea on what excites you in that particular space, and you can go and then build things in that particular space for you to lead it. If you
Right.
feel that you can do if you're at a level wherein you can do the entire course and drive the digital transformation, nothing like it. But if you are early in your career and you feel that it is bit, it would be a good it would be a good start for you to get those concepts and build things at one thing at a point in time, so that at some point in time you can make the whole transformation happen.
Thank you. Thanks for that reply. Okay, Charu. So before we close, uh, this is a good opportunity for you to let us know your mobile number and your email ID, so that the listeners can uh, email you with they have some more queries, or they want to reach out to you and connect with you. So if you can say your email ID and mobile number now, and if you can also send it to me on WhatsApp, I will put it on the group so that that is there. Also, if you can send the video of Nandan Nilekani which you mentioned,
I
I
would
will put it on the community chat so that the listeners can benefit out of that.
Sure. So I'm reachable on 9822033080. That's the coordinate. Email ID is Charudatta, CHARUDATA, @Surud, SUHRUD. I'll repeat, SUHRUD, surud.co.in. And surud.co.in is a website that has got all the books. The literature is pretty much available. The success stories are also available for you. The digitalization guide, okay. So I give you a free resource. So if you want to look at understand the digital transformation side, my book is currently available on the website. It's a free resource. You can go and all you will need to do is put in your email ID and you can download that particular part. That will basically give you a step-by-step process of how you can drive digital transformation in your business. So you can start from this particular part, see how things are building up, and if you have got any queries, you have my coordinates to reach out to.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks everybody for logging in and participating with your questions and with your attention. And thanks, Charu, very much for your time. I know you are the middle of a assignment, but yet you made the time and shared all your insights with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Vipul, for this opportunity. I hope I was able to contribute. Thank you.
Absolutely, you did. Thank you.